For those of you who are wondering where those extra Sundays of ours have gone, they're at Patreon. If you subscribe to QF on Patreon in the link given in the description to the Black Kluge level or higher, you're going to get access to not only the Sunday episodes that are missing from our regular free Sunday lineup, but you'll also get 4 extra episodes per month on Patreon that are unavailable anywhere else. So... Right. First thing we're going to do, one of the main things he kept bitching about, this was, keep in mind the context, guys. Sirius and XM were competing, and he went to XM first, and they kind of laughed at him. I think they'd already signed O&A at the time, and they said, yeah, we don't really want you, whatever. So, and they were outpacing Sirius at the time. I think they'd also started before XM had started. Different names when they originally were satellite companies. They changed their names later. Then they had to merge in 2008. They were trying to merge for a while. And you remember that year where he wouldn't shut the fuck up about that merger.
Yeah, I do. I remember it. He wouldn't stop talking about it because he stupidly believed that he was in line for this big payday.
Right.
I remember... I distinctly remember the two companies because one of the big things about XM was they had a deal with Major League Baseball. Sirius had a deal with the NBA and the NFL, which was huge for them, but they didn't have baseball. So, I mean, I was thinking about this, and think about it. If the NFL, a way to look at this would be to think of it like this: that the NFL sues Sirius for not hitting subscriber bonuses because they're not counting the subscriptions that came in from XM on the Major League Baseball contract. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't even make any sense. Like, you of course you wouldn't count those.
Okay, I'll give you another example that's let's say music related. Woodstock, the festival, the original Woodstock in 1969. They said there was about 500,000 people attended overall through the festival, but they only collected tickets for 40,000 people. And then the film people said, look, you can either have a great film or you can start collecting tickets. And so they said, if not for the movie, if not for the money they were going to get from the albums, they would have gone one by one and had to collect tickets. Otherwise, they would have been in financial shit. But either way, are you going to say we sold 500,000 or there were 500,000 people that attended? I mean, right. There's a distinct difference. And Definitely. When he did lose the lawsuit, it was like him and Buchwald. This is what I wanted to ask you originally. Do you think he and Buchwald, who do you think came up with the idea to do the lawsuit? Buchwald or both of them? Or what was the, do you think in lieu of failing to get those second and third and fourth subscriber bonuses that he didn't get, they thought maybe this is a way we can get it done?
Right. Yeah, I definitely think it was Buchwald because especially reading some of the other stuff about the other lawsuits, they all seem to kind of at least originate with Buchwald. And then, Wiggy will quickly jump on afterwards and
right.
And essentially be the mouthpiece, so to speak, talking about it incessantly on the radio or on his show. But yeah, I really do think that the germ of the idea came from Buchwald because his greed knows no bounds.
Yeah. And what was your take on the way the contract, the 2006 contract was worded vis-a-vis the subscribers situation? Because the merger section of the contract is very small. It literally is 3 lines. The potential for the merger.
You have to look at it. There's a term of art in dealing with contracts. It's everything is within the 4 corners of the document. You can't take evidence of someone. Oh, well, this is what I thought it meant, or this is what that stuff doesn't really come into it. It's like, look, it's what's in here. And you'll notice at the end of a lot of contracts, they'll, say, hey, or they, was anything else promised to you, or that kind of thing. They'll have these disclaimers in certain agreements that preclude that possibility. So looking at that contract back then, I think it was fine in that when it was written, Sirius thought they were going to be in business, just Sirius, as an entity until the end of time. So
yes.
If you look at it back then, I mean, was it the most artfully created one? No. But I think really what should have happened when the merger went through, or maybe even before. Well, no, not before, because again, you've got to wait until the kind of the dust settles. Wiggy and Buchwald should have gone in and, well, they could have asked for this before, like say, hey, we need some clarification. And going forward, if this merger goes forward, we need to start over. We need to start, tear up the old contract. Let's do a new one. That probably would have been the smarter thing, because in that way, it's not about an interpretation. Well, what does this term mean? What does that term mean? It's in black and white. It's within the four corners of the agreement, and everybody's got to agree to it before they sign it. So, it could have avoided a lot of this ambiguity and misery that Wiggy went through.
Well, this is the whole thing. I mean, why wasn't it done more specifically originally in the fantasy world, imagining that there would be a merger? Because we know how corporations work, and it's no different than insurance corporations who don't want to pay out people who have severely injured themselves on vacation, and they don't want to have to pay millions of dollars for a fucking operation in Antigua because you drunkenly went off fucking diving into a shallow pool and broke your neck. They want to find any way they can to fuck you out of your right for that insurance if you meet all the criteria for it. So in this case, the Scary Lawyer Guy blog which is one thing we both went through. This is literally it's a Blogspot page, and he broke down the whole before the it was November 23rd, 2011, and he was breaking down the whole thing and how he saw it. He saw it as 50-50. Did you also see it that way?
You mean on
the merits of the case, how it was worded, and do you think what kind of judge, what do you think would weigh heavily against a judge not knowing what we know the results ended up being?
No, I didn't. I didn't think, as far as the outcome goes, no, I just really didn't think that Howard and Buchwald had much of a case. I really didn't. It seemed, even though the contract wasn't written in the there could have been better language there. It's true. There could have been more, clearer language. But again, this really ultimately goes back on the people that signed it. You know what I mean? Like Wiggy's lawyer should have been like, you know what? I don't particularly like this language in here about mergers. But at the same time, I just go back to that. Like, I know that companies think about the future and all that kind of stuff, but I don't know if it were anticipated at that time that they were going to merge, because I remember kind of during those satellite company wars, there was a time when XM was bigger than Sirius.
They were. And when they merged, they had incrementally more subscribers, actually.
Right. So XM could have swallowed up Sirius. It could have been the other way around. And then what?
Well, it turns out, like, basically the date's important because 2007 to 2009, we're going to call it, that was that recession. Like, that was the limits of the recession, the boundaries of when it kind of started and ended, that in that era. And car sales were plummeting like crazy. And that's where they were wholly dependent on a lot of them on that, and more than ever now, but back then for sure. And both companies were hemorrhaging money. If you recall, like, this was probably the main reason after the merger why Bubba, who's getting $1 million a year for his contract originally, gets lowballed to $200,000 the following contract. But so if Bubba was going to get 20% of his salary, what do you think they offered Howard?